when we're talking about house hacking, like you said, I was very intentional. And so what I knew I was going to do is, okay, I'm going to live in one of the bedrooms and I'm going to have multiple bedrooms. There was 3 extra bedrooms plus a detached casita. So I was like, I'm going to rent out all these bedrooms, sleep in the master bedroom, and rent out the casita. And that was really the start of my house hacking journey.
Hello, and welcome to the Infinite Financial Freedom Podcast, where we empower you with financial literacy and guide you on your journey to financial freedom. I'm Josh Mettle. I'm here today with former Cabana boy, Jesse Ray. This dude still has the abs to prove it, too. You got to check out his Instagram page. He's gone on from his six-pack Cabana boy days to become the founder of the Growth House, where he teaches people how to replace their corporate salaries, through house hacking and creating entrepreneur-focused co-living homes, which I don't really know what is, so I'm excited to learn from this dude. Jesse, welcome to the show. You're coming to us from Rio today. How the hell are you?
Man, I'm doing great. Appreciate the intro. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I'm here from Rio. Been here for a few days, traveled all around Europe, and then headed back home to Arizona in about a month.
Well, I got to hook up with you next time I'm in Arizona, because I'm out meeting our mutual friend, Todd Bookspan, at least a couple times a year. Todd and I are in a group called Be Wealthy, and they have at least 3 masterminds there. So the next time I'm out, you and I are going to race to the top of Camelback Mountain. Is that cool?
Oh, let's do it. I'm always down for a challenge.
Oh, man. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about your backstory. I know in your bio, you were the cabana boy sleeping on your parents' couch. And sometimes people think that people who have reached a level of success didn't go through some really tough shit. So tell me a little bit about the background and how did you stumble upon what you're doing today?
Yeah, I mean, it always starts back at that cabana boy story, man. That was my first job at 14 years old. I always had a strong work ethic, shout out my parents for that. But at the end of the day, I went to college because what everyone said to do. I graduated college, kind of just coasted my way through. And then I'm like, okay, perfect. I got my degree. I'm going to go find a great job. And guess what? I had every single interview and they all said, well, you need job experience. I'm like, why did I pay thousands of dollars for this degree when you guys say I need job experience? That doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of where my life, took a turn. And so I went back to the one job that I knew I could get. And that was Cabana Man. I was the manager of the Cabana Boys. So here I am with this college degree I spent tens of thousands of dollars for, and I'm going back. And like literally probably the first week, I'm putting on this light blue Cabana Boy shirt. I stop and just look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like something didn't line up. Because I've always had strong ambition. And I'm sure a lot of people listening, they're like, man, I'm going to do something great. I want to help people. I want to make money, but how do I do that? And so for me, very similar to, I think, your story, because we talked about Robert Kiyosaki before we got on this podcast, and I Googled how to be rich, how to be wealthy, as I put on my Cabana Boy shirt. And one of the first books I saw was this purple book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that book right there has changed my life. It showed me like, oh, you can get into stocks, you can get into real estate. And then I went down that, that journey of personal development, growth. And that's where my life really changed.
Well, man, I'm happy for you that you were uncomfortable with whatever that was, whatever that Cabana Man future was. And you said, there's got to be a better way. And you, like me, stumbled on Robert Kiyosaki, and all of a sudden there was a light in a direction that I had never seen before. Cash flow quadrant. We were talking before the show. I couldn't remember the name of that.
That's what it was. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So before we go too much further down the money conversation, which we're going to get into house hacking very heavily in this conversation, tell me a little bit about your personal development journey, because I imagine from Cabana Boy to Cabana Man to having hard times, sleeping on parents' couch, there had to be this journey towards personal development. So just tell me a little bit about that. What would that journey look like? Who were your mentors and some of those lessons that helped you?
100%. And I think now looking back, it's like either make mistakes or have mentors. And luckily at that time, I was able to choose the mentor route. And so, we got like a alarm going off in the Airbnb right now.
The good news is I can't hear it, but if you need to go attend to it, go.
Perfect. If you can't hear it, let's keep it rocking then.
Yep.
So yeah, once I started reading Robert Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad Poor Dad, I just realized, okay, books and podcasts are gonna be something that I could really learn and grow from. And so for me personally, I also realized I need to audit my circle. And that's when the quote that absolutely changed my life was, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around. Whether that's they're making X amount of money, you're going to be making that money. Whether it's they're all fit and they're ripped, or if they're overweight, you're probably going to be whatever that group of 5. You're the sum of those 5 people. And so once I realized how true that was a huge part of my, growth, because I realized these are some people that I love, my best friends, my cousins. But at the end of the day, I knew that if I wanted to live a different life and head a different direction and grow and make more money, I had to shed some of those people. It didn't mean I had to cut them off cold turkey, but for me, I realized I had to really be intentional with my time. So I think that was one of the main focuses of my personal development, was that realization that I'm going to be those average of the 5 people I spend the most time with. So that, on top of probably within 6 months, I was like, after I read Robert Kiyosaki, instead of real estate, I actually got interested in stocks first. So then I looked up stock coaches, and one of my first coaches was Tyrone Jackson, a former actor who is now a stock coach. And this guy helped me out so much. I went to do covered calls, long-term investments in Dow, S&P 500. And so from there now I'm realizing, okay, now I got to upgrade my circle, but also I could either make mistakes or have mentors. So I think those were the two pieces of my personal growth and journey that just absolutely helped me.
So good, man. That reminded me of a Jim Rohn quote. And I think the original framework around you're the average of your 5 closest friends, I believe that's a Jim Rohn message that has been, cascaded through people like Tony Robbins and all the other people that he impacted. But one of the things that Jim Rohn says along those lines is that most people spend all of their time working at a job or working in their business. And he says, as soon as I realized, or as soon as I flipped working on myself, that was my primary focus. And then I worked on my business or in my business. He said, everything changed. And I think that's a real common trait of the people that I interview, is that they started working on themselves, and they had enough modesty or lack of ego that they could say, I'm going to F this up if I go do this on my own. I need a
100%.
mentor. I need someone to help me, to guide me through that. And that's all that shift of prioritization. I'm going to focus on personal development first. Then I'm going to focus on professional development, and I'm going to then work in my business or on my business. But if I'm spending all the time working in my business, I'm really not improving myself as a person. And another quote from Jim Rohn: success isn't something that you pursue, it's something you attract by the person that you become.
I love that. Even now, like even after I was able to quit my job and become, financially independent, I still go through spurts where I'm like, oh man, I'm actually not doing all the stuff I used to be doing. I'm not in the books. I'm not listening to podcasts. It doesn't matter where you are in life. Like, the whole goal is not really just to have a bunch of money. It's the journey and the person that you become as you get to certain levels of success to then give back and help others. And so for me, I definitely had a time last year, I've been financially free for about 2.5 years, where I spent 6 months just kind of like, I'm doing all this business stuff, my life, my energy, my non-negotiables, like working out and everything that was making me feel good and fulfilled, lacked. So it's not like it ever stops. Like, I'm always going to be a student of the game, and it's a lifelong learner.
Funny you say that. I was just talking to my team this week, and I told them that I felt like I had, I was still in a bunch of coaching groups and all those types of things, but I felt like I just plateaued a little bit on my own personal development. I don't know if it was a COVID hangover, in the mortgage industry, the real estate industry. COVID was great when rates were at 3%, and horrible as rates were at 8%. And there was just a lot to grapple with. Like, I was tested. Everything I learned about stoicism, I found out was harder to apply than to read.
I can imagine.
Detaching from the situation when everything is crumbling is a lot harder to do than it sounds like. And I found a place where I just wasn't on that same, I didn't have that same hunger for personal development. And I got following Alex Hormozy.
Yes, great book.
I read $100 Million Offer. Now I'm in the middle with my team reading $100 million Leads. And like, my whole energetic frequency has changed. I'm like, there's something about being in that sweet spot of learning and then applying what you're learning that is so incredibly empowering and inspiring to me. And if you've fallen off, and so here's the lesson, we'll net this out and move on. If you've fallen off, like I fell off, and Jesse just said he fell off, find a great book, get back into
Mm-hmm.
learning. There's nothing that can get you back from feeling a little lethargic or stuck to inspired, like finding the right mentor or the right book to teach you what you need and then apply those things. So I think that's a great start to this interview, Jesse. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
All right, dude, let's go into house hacking. So walk me through from where you left off on your financial
Mm-hmm.
and life journey. How did you stumble into house hacking? And what the hell is the house hacking with I don't understand the whole, what do
Yeah.
you call it?
Growth house.
Growth house. Yes. Well,
Yeah.
no, no, sorry. What I was thinking was you called it house hacking and creating entrepreneur focused co-living homes. That was the piece. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really curious what that means.
Yeah,
But
so that
take us through the
company
journey.
is called Growth House with these entrepreneur focused homes. So yeah, let me
Okay.
let me start back where okay. So I got the cabana boy. I realized I need to do more of my life, but here's the key. I'm someone that doesn't like to recreate the wheel. If there's a blueprint that already works, I am gonna copy that blueprint, and I'm
Yeah,
proud
baby.
of it. So
Yep.
Robert Kiyosaki had a blueprint in his book that said, I am gonna go get a job in sales. Because if I can sell copiers, I can sell
Right.
anything. He
Right.
sold copiers for Xerox. So what did I do? I started doing a bunch of interviews for copier companies and I got a job at Xerox. So shout out to
Literal
Xerox.
follow the blueprint.
I will follow the blueprint to a T. And so that's what I did. I ended up for the next, 4 or 5 years selling copiers. And I always say, like, hey, sales, I'm someone who's, extroverted when I want to be. If we're making money and we're, out there, I will totally talk to people and be extroverted. But still, that doesn't mean that you're going to be good at sales. I almost
Right.
quit 6 times in the first 3 months. So I want people who are just getting into that, industry to know you are going to, cut your teeth. It's going to suck for a while. And
Yep.
so, but once I started, reading sales books, getting into podcasts about sales is really personal growth, like you're talking about. I was able to become a President's Club winner, $1 million producer in that company. And that's how I was able to then get into real estate. And something that I always want to tell people, hey, I lived below my means. My first salary was $42,000. I think in those 4 years, it went up to about 60. I'm not talking about commissions because that's a whole nother, basket. But for my salary, I lived off of $42,000 for 5 years. I'm making 150, 160, 180. But I'm still acting as if I'm making 42. That's something if you're in your 20s, like, guys, stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. Like, get off
Yep.
of Instagram, get off of TikTok. Like, there's a lot of things that are, we're very impressionable at that age. That's why I encourage everyone who's there, even in their early 30s, like, don't worry about what other people are doing. If you have a path, if you're following a blueprint, like, just follow that. And so that's what I did. And I was able to save up $100,000. I didn't realize that you didn't need $100,000 to get into real estate, which is something that, now I tell people there's other ways. But for me, this is my journey. So that's what I did. And actually, funny enough, I read a tweet, and this is about time COVID happened. And I'm realizing, okay, I'm getting to this another level in my life where I'm making money. Everyone's like, oh, Jesse, you have a great job, 6-figure plus, but still, I want more. And so it said, life hack in this tweet, life hack, move out of your hometown in your 20s, it'll change your life. And so I took it to heart. I was like 27, about to turn 28 at the time, living in Portland, Oregon. Gray skies, not too many entrepreneurs. I was like, I'm trying to be an entrepreneur. I want to do real estate. Where are those people? Phoenix, Arizona, a lot of those type of people. So I said, you know what? I'm making this jump. So I literally did that, following another blueprint, even though it was a
Wow.
tweet.
Wow.
And I made that jump during COVID to Phoenix. And I was very intentional. It took 5 years of analysis paralysis. I probably could have bought a home 5 years prior when I started making money, but I just didn't know what to do. So I hired a coach, and then also pen to pad. I wrote down my goal. I told everyone for 5 years, but it never happened because I wasn't that serious. But it's like Kobe Bryant said, it's like a non-negotiable with yourself, a written contract with yourself when you write it down pen to pad. And that's what I did. And so within 30 days of actually writing down the goal, I'm going to get my first house, it happened in 30 days. And so like the next
Wow.
day I found the house. Shout out my mom, by the way. Like my mom sent me a listing. She's like, this looks like a house that'll be cool. I'm like, Mom, this house is perfect. So then offer that day. And then I had my first house, 30 days later. And when we're talking about house hacking, like you said, I was very intentional. And so what I knew I was going to do is, okay, I'm going to live in one of the bedrooms and I'm going to have multiple bedrooms. There was three extra bedrooms plus a detached casita. So I was like, I'm going to rent out all these bedrooms, sleep in the master bedroom and rent out the casita. And that was really the start of my house hacking journey.
Man, all right. So let's decode that real quick. Number one, he got kicked in the balls in sales and almost quit a half dozen times before he found success.
Mm-hmm.
Then, once he overcame that and found success, he lived off his salary and saved his commissions. So he lived below his means. Now, imagine how that feels when you're going to a friend's house or you're going to pick up a girlfriend and everybody seems to be living a better life than you, and you're the only one who knows you're saving money to live the future better life. That is
Mm.
harder done than said. And then he wrote down the goal. He finally put it down on paper, communicated it. The universe aligned via mom to find him the house.
Yes.
And then he said, all right, I'm not done suffering. I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to live in one bedroom and I'm going to put up with all the rest of these people living in my house to, 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 to put my personal desires now to the side so that I can
Mm-hmm.
live the life I want to live in the future. So I just want people to think through like how much suffering and uphill journey do you have to go through? So on the other side, there's a downhill journey. There is no downhill
Mm.
without the uphill. So don't miss all the uphill that Jesse went through to get there. I love it. All right. Do you remember, Jesse? First of all, do you have anything to add to what I just said before I ask you my next
I
question?
was just gonna say, like, I really actually appreciate you kind of recapping that because you call it suffering, I could call it investing in yourself, whatever, works for you. But for me, it's like people see me now. I literally like, didn't work for 45 days, which I like routine. So now I'm actually excited to get back on meetings, podcasts,
Yeah.
but I'm traveling to Lisbon, to Barcelona, staying in five-star hotels, doing running with the bulls, like doing amazing things in my life. But none of this would be possible if I didn't have that sacrifice, that suffering for those 5 to 6 years when I was in my 20s. Like everyone during that time, like you said, oh, they're living way better. They're picking up girls in their Mercedes. I still have my Honda Civic. And it's so true because now they're all asking me how I did what I did. And I'm like, I showed you what I did. So it is really good to remember that, people see what I'm doing now, living and traveling, but it's not what it was always like.
So delayed gratification is probably the right word, right? I use the word suffering because I know there's moments where it would have been so much easier to just spend that money and show everybody else how smart and successful you were. There's this quote. I'll see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. I put this on X just recently. This is from Alex Hermosi. Yes, I'm an official Alex Hermosi fanboy now. All right, just I'll take the
Hey, he's
punches.
great.
He's great. But Alex put out this X post and he said, "The world belongs to those who can keep doing without seeing the results of their doing."
Mm,
Wow. That's delayed gratification. In other
yeah.
words, if I wanted gratification right now, I'd take that big commission check and I'd go buy a toy. And then I would show all my friends
Hmm.
how cool I am. You put it in the savings account, nobody sees how cool you are. You just know how cool you are. That's the continued doing without seeing the results of your doing. And then bam, it appears like you're an overnight success. So thank you for laying that out for us. Hey, so my next question is, do you happen to remember any of the like financial numbers from that first deal, even like just a ballpark idea?
I love numbers. Let's pull it up.
All right, he's got a
I even
spreadsheet.
got for me, like people sometimes, hey Jesse, you got the house when it was lower interest rates. Well, guess what, guys? I got examples if you want them of today's interest rates and how you can still make it happen. But let me pull this up for my first house. So my first house, Phoenix, Arizona, 4 bedrooms plus a casita. And it was, let's see
So
here.
you rented out 3 bedrooms plus the casita?
Yeah, and actually added another bedroom. So I ended up living in the master bedroom, renting out 4 rooms in my house, and then also the casita. And before we get into the numbers, what I started thinking about as I was moving in and getting this other bedroom ready, I'm like, okay, I actually get to pick who I want to live with. So why wouldn't I want to live with people who are ambitious, growth minded, probably entrepreneurial, or even have their
Ah,
businesses already? And that's when
right.
the light bulb clicked. And it wasn't like official business at the time. It was really just on Facebook. I blasted out, hey guys, I just moved to Phoenix, Arizona. This is what I am. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. If you have any aspirations to live with also other, like-minded people, you become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. That was it. People started hitting me up. I put that on Craigslist. I put that on all the different platforms. And from there, I met amazing people, started living with now like some of my best friends. And then 6 months later, we can get into that story, but that's kind of how Growth House happened, where it is these growth minded, these entrepreneurial types of people who are now living in the homes, which is awesome. But going back
What
to
a
the numbers,
freaking great idea. That is the entrepreneur focused co living homes growth house. Bro, that is
yes.
brilliant. I love it.
So the first house, I was living in Portland still because I still have my corporate job in Portland selling copiers. So I basically did a second home mortgage. So it's 10% down. So I brought 40K to the table. It was $400,000. Mortgage plus utilities and house cleaning, all in was 3,500. And so all in 3,500 with expenses, 5 bedrooms, 3 baths plus casita. Basically rented out every room for about $1,000, utilities included, Wi-Fi is included. I made the house nice. It has a big, pool in the backyard. So all that together was about, let's just do the quick math. Let's say 5,000 plus casita. What I ended up doing, and actually this is how I got my next house, was I followed the same blueprint because I knew it worked. So the casita was detached, and I put that on Airbnb. So
Mm.
anyone who's listening, if there's an ADU, if there's a detached casita, mother-in-law suite, anything like that, that's like a secret. It's like a little niche that I've kind of done for myself, help other people implement and copy. So 5,000 plus, it's anywhere from 1,500 a month to 3,000 a month for the casita. So let's just say 1,500. So it's 5,000 plus 1,500 at 6,500 bucks. While Actually, it's not while I'm living in the house, but let's subtract 1,000. So I'm making, 2,000, 2,500 bucks while I'm still living in that house.
All right. And then what was your down payment on that? 10%?
Yeah. So about 40K.
All right. So let's calculate the return on investment really quickly. So let's just say he's got 2,000 a month in cash flow because he's taken one of the rooms, which you gotta think, well, that means he's not paying rent somewhere else. So he's got no rent himself. He's cash flow positive $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 a year. So if I take 24,000 divided by the 40,000 that he put down, that's a 60% cash on cash return. Plus he's not paying rent somewhere else. Plus he's using other people's money to pay down his mortgage on the amortization. Plus the property's appreciating like hell. Plus he's meeting like-minded people. Plus he's learning how to be a business owner. Like, compound those decisions over a 10, 20, 30-year time horizon versus I'm just going to play it safe and rent a 600 square foot apartment and just see how it goes. Like that's the thing. You've got to live below your means. You have to subvert today's desire for tomorrow's rewards. You have to have some balls and you have to play big. Man, this is such a great story. All right, keep it going. What other lessons did you learn there and where did you go from there, brother?
Yeah. I mean, lessons I learned was when you have something that's more of a niche, then people start getting attracted to it. So we had the house completely filled. 6 months later, we had people reaching out saying, hey, Jesse, can I have a room? And I was like, I don't have any more rooms.
Oh.
So it's a great problem to have. And so at the same time, I'm thinking like, okay, I forgot, but then I remember that in my journal, the one that I wrote down, I want a house in 30 days. I went back and opened it back up, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I said I want 2 houses in the same year. And so this is like, I don't know, September or October of that year. So I'm like, if I'm going to make this happen, I got to start looking. And so for me, I'm still living in Portland. I'm flying back and forth. Oh, that's also another thing. I wasn't even actually full time in Arizona yet because I still have my job. So I was flying back and forth. And so I'm like, okay, how do I get this next house? Couple days later, like I'm a huge believer in, God and things happen for a reason. And so the person across the street says, hey, Jesse, I'm looking to sell my house. I know what you're doing. It looks awesome. Let's talk. His house was perfect. It's got the double extra, driveway so I can fit more cars, even a bigger pool in the backyard. We start talking. I'm like, this is perfect. Verbal offer. And then he's like, yeah, we don't have to worry about, attorneys, real estate agents, any of that. Let's just do it between us. I'm like, cool. Hits me up the next day. I just sold it to Open Door for $20,000 more. I'm like, dude, like I thought we had this, like I thought it was a deal. Like, looked at God, I'm like, all right, God, I guess it's not in your timing. Like, I'll just figure it out and just wait. And I'm like, damn, am I really using God as an excuse? That's what I thought. And I was like depressed for like a day. And I watched this show called Undercover Billionaire. It got me
Mm.
fired up and excited. I don't know if you've seen it with Grant
Yep.
Cardone, Monique. Amazing
Yep.
TV show. If anyone wants some inspiration in business, TV show. And so I'm watching this TV show. I'm like, you know what? I don't think I have enough time if I want to complete this goal by going out and looking, outside my market. So let me do this. I've heard of people door knocking for houses. I used to door knock for my own job, but business to business. I have no idea what I'm doing, but let me just try it. So that Saturday, I put on a backwards hat. I put on some like jogging shorts because I want to seem like not pest control or a solar salesperson. I just want to seem like a normal dude, your neighbor, this
Yep.
meeting other neighbors and see if they want to sell me their house. I didn't think this all the way through. And my people in the house were like, Jesse, you're crazy. Like, you're just gonna buy another house in the neighborhood and close by the end of the year. I'm like, yeah,
Yep.
why
That's
not?
it. I wrote it down. It's going to happen.
It's gonna happen. And so I don't know if it's delusion or what, but I go outside. Obviously, in Arizona, it's very hot. I'm sweating. I'm knocking on neighbors' doors. Hey, this is my like sales pitch. Hey, I'm Jesse. I'm one of your neighbors. Oh, great to meet you. Blah 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 blah. Super random, but I'm actually now homeless because I rented out my house, and I love this neighborhood so much. And I'm wondering if you are looking to sell your house anytime soon. People are like, no, but great to meet you. Like, so I'm going around my neighborhood, probably 400 homes. I probably hit, 230 of them because based on what kind of houses I liked, and nothing, 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 nothing. And then the sun is setting. I look at this house across from the park. It's got parking, street parking. I'm like, oh, that would be a great house. I go knock on the door, sweetest Jamaican couple. Oh, Jesse, great to meet you. Come on in. I start talking to them. Like, you looking to sell your house? They're like, we don't own it. I'm like, okay, well, great to meet you. And as I'm walking out the door, they say, but we just bought a house. I'm like, so wait, what's going on with this house? They're like, I don't know. I think they might be putting up for sale. I'm like, can you please connect me with the owner? That night, I made an offer on the house. And 30 days later, I moved in to that second house.
So good, man.
Like, so I have like a quote that's kind of like a combination of several quotes, but it's like, if God, shuts a door, go back and see if it's unlocked.
See if
And
he
I
wanted you
literally
to
did
open
that.
another one next door.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, it's so good, man. I'm reminded of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And
Mm,
at the end of that book, he says, write down with incredible specificity where you want to be in the future, even if it's silly, even if you have no idea how you're going to get there, it doesn't matter. You're just picking a destination in future time that you want to get to. And I remember doing similar to like you. I wrote down, I think at the time I was going to be really old. I was like, I am 54 years old, which I wrote this at 24. So I was really old. That was going to be a really old date. And I have achieved, I own 100 properties. I have escaped the rat race. I have an incredible family and relationship and all these things in ownership language. And I remember folding it up and putting them away. And the thought that went through my head, well, that was stupid. Like that, those things are
mm,
unreasonable expectations. Every single one of the things that I wrote down have happened within the next 20 years. It was
it's
crazy.
amazing.
It's amazing. So the power of putting down a future intention in
Mm,
writing, and then if you have the cojones to share it with someone that you love and care about, like these doors that Jesse's talking about that God opens, like they don't open if you don't have an intention. If your intention is
yeah.
to master the next level of a video game, then that door may open. But if you want bigger doors to open, you got to put it down, man. You got to tell the universe that's where I'm going. Somebody showed me the door to get there, and it's crazy. It happens.
So true. Yeah. And that's after I got that second home is like when everything started going with Growth House. And I always like to share this story because I think you only need one person to believe in you. And yeah, I started writing things down and stuff started happening, but still there's a lot to go to get to like a business of these entrepreneur houses. And so one of the last people who moved into one of the houses was name is Derek. And before he moved in, I'm like, dude, I got this vision for Growth House. I just bought this another house down the street. Come check it out. And so I'm having everything in the house being remodeled. It's dust everywhere. My bed is in the kitchen because all the rooms are being redone. I already can't live in the other house because it's rented out. So my bed is in the kitchen with my clothes in my desk. And I don't think about this. I'm just like, dude, check out this house. So he walks in the door. I'm still trying to sell him on, coming and living in one of these homes. He goes, what's going on here? I'm like, bro, this is going to be an entrepreneur house. We're going to have a studio right here. We're going to have whiteboard sessions. We're all going to eat dinner right here. He's looking around like, this guy's crazy. And he puts
I'm
his
not
hands on
seeing
his
it.
hips. He puts his hands on his hips and he goes, dude, let's do it. So like I just always love to tell that story because you paint the vision and you believe it's gonna happen, other people feel that energy. And that's the first guy who ever, believed in Growth House, and we're at today because of, him and his belief in what we're doing.
Was it the bed in the kitchen that convinced him, or what do you think it was?
Yeah, probably. He's like, dude, this dude's hungry.
This
Go
dude's
live in the
all in.
kitchen. Nothing's gonna stop him. Man, it was honestly, it was also just right timing because this is someone who was sleeping on his friend's couch, and he's just like, man, I just moved here from, wow, I'm blanking. I think Philadelphia, no, Pittsburgh, and he's like, I'm starting my Airbnb management company. I have 3 homes under, management, and I want to scale this thing. And the cool thing about what he saw was he saw what we were doing, the vision, but then he saw the association. I
Mhm.
started networking him like to all my friends, started connecting him. All of a sudden, 6 months later, he had 35 properties under management in 2 different states. 1 year later, he's got over a $500,000 business
Good for him.
per year in revenue from sleeping on his friend's couch, making nothing, can barely eat, 2 years ago.
I say that I like to accumulate and attract friends that I can borrow confidence from. Like their
Mm,
confidence and their conviction and what they see is so clear to them. Like it's more real than where they are in the present moment. And I love being around people like that because it makes
so
me
true.
think bigger and be like, all right, if Jesse can be that confident, he's sleeping in a freaking kitchen. He's got his bed in the kitchen and he sees this thing like, I'm in. I got to be more confident myself. So, thanks for being that person in the world, first of all.
Absolutely,
All right.
man. No, I have plenty of those people in my life as well. I don't know if you
Right.
want to go into how I quit corporate America, and then we can go into like an example of, what numbers look like in today's market.
Go for it. Let's run with it. I love that. Take it.
Cool. All right. So to wrap up my story about how I, actually ended up leaving was my job was still in Portland. Eventually they kind of caught on that I'm not living in Portland and that was a problem. So I ended up, cutting ties and moving on to a different company that was remote and a great company, 6-figure salary plus commissions. And 3 months into that role, I'm still in training. I'm about to have my first month in territory. I get a call from HR. I was the number one sales guy the previous year at my last company, President's Club winner. When I get calls from HR, I'm like, oh, it must be a promotion. Super naive. And so I get this call from HR. They're like, hey, Jess, you want to talk to you? I'm like, yeah, what's up? Like, I'm excited to start selling. They're like, yeah, you're not going to sell. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, well, we have to cut your team in half and you
Oh,
haven't produced. I'm like, yeah, I haven't produced because I haven't had a chance. They're like, yeah, we understand, but you're gone. And so they're about to fire me, but then they also mentioned, hey, we have a severance package, but then we also have another role. It's another role, right below the role that you were in for sales. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me talk to the manager. So I talked to the manager of that role. Long story short, just did not click. They're like, why isn't your calendar booked out? I'm like, guys, I just got fired. I'm not gonna keep booking stuff that I'm not gonna get paid for. Like, I'm gonna look to see what my own life. I'm taking care of
yep.
myself at this point. And so at the end of this call with these two sales managers, they say, all right, Jesse, we're not sure about you. So sell yourself to us. And I get the question. I'm in sales. But at the end of the day, I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? in my back of my head, I'm adding up all the rental income that I'm going to have once I move out of this second house. And I go, hey guys, remind me what the salary is again. It was like right under six figures. I go, you know what? I'm not going to sell myself to you guys because actually you guys can't even afford me. And that's my last words to that company. And quit my job. I was out. I'm like, tell me about the severance package. And actually here, if this is not a God moment, in that same journal, this is my last goal in that journal. It said, I don't even remember this writing it down, but it said February 2022, quit corporate America.
Wow.
And so this is like December of the year. And so I'm like, okay, tell me about the severance package. They're like, Jesse, you can, produce 1 month in the territory, which I actually ended up setting a record for a rookie for my 1 month in that company. So I set the record, and they said, also, we'll give you a severance, and that severance will last until February 2022. I'm like, you know what? That's not a sign. I got to listen.
That's my path.
Yeah.
What a beautiful story, man. That just the power of the written word is just absolutely incredible. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
All right, you want to go on to I've got 10 minutes. So where do you want to wrap this up so that people have tactical, where do they start? How do people overcome high interest rates, high prices? Where do they get a foothold into the real estate market?
I think one of the biggest things for me, which, everyone should know this, and it seems like common sense, but I didn't. Go get your team. Go with a mortgage person. Go with your loan officer. See what you actually can qualify for. I think people are scared to even do that and take that first little baby step. So I say, go find your agent, go find your lender, go find, that's only two people I think you really need to start in YouTube University. Like all that stuff is free. I didn't really need coaches and anything for that, but you'll get the team, those two people. And then also for me, I always like to just break down what it looks like if you're in today's market. So let's just give an example in Tempe. Tempe is a college town right next to Phoenix.
Yep.
You could buy a house for $500,000. And this house probably has, 3 or 4 bedrooms. So not a crazy house, a little bit older, but it's all good. It's going to serve the purpose. And this is a house hacking example. So house hacking example, $500,000, Tempe, Arizona. Down payment, $25,000 because you're going to live in it. Let's just say it's 5% down.
Yep.
And with this, as a lot of people know, you're supposed to live in it for a year. So that's the goal there, is to live in it for a year, and you're going to want to add a couple bedrooms. So let's just say $30,000 is going to be your remodel cost. So all in $55K. Jesse, I don't have $55K. Well, guess what? You can make $55K and save $55K in 2 years. It's not that difficult. You just got to actually live below your means and kind of re-listen to my story. You're going to have to sacrifice, have some delayed gratification. So either you have the money saved or you find private money lenders. And with that also is just getting around other people who have already done it. If you're talking to friends who haven't bought houses, if you're talking to your parents who are not real estate investors, don't listen to their advice. Do they have fruit on the tree? Are they the people that you want to aspire to be? If not, stop listening to those people. That's just something that is so necessary to, advance in life. You can't listen to people who haven't done what you're trying to do. So in this example, going in all in $55K remodel plus down payment, I just put the rate at 7.75 because that's what the rate was like a few months when I was looking at this. 30-year fixed, all in 40-50, $4,050 plus co-living expenses, 1,200. What I do for co-living is, or house hacking, same thing, is I pay for cleaners every single week. And also I pay for utilities and Wi-Fi. So all in monthly expenses, $5,250. Now, remember, if you're looking and asking people mostly in today's market, they're like, man, if you can get $300 in cash flow, that's amazing. I don't like that because the AC unit goes out, your whole year of cash flow is gone. And I had that happen in one of the houses. I was like, well, I don't care. That's just like 1 month of cash flow. So this is a lot different than typical, investing and cash flow numbers. So $5,250 monthly expenses. You now add a couple bedrooms. So it's now a 6 bedroom, 3 bath. Plus you want to look for maybe a carport that you can convert into a casita. So that's 6,000 bucks plus minus 1,000 for the room that you're going to live in. So 5,000 for the bedrooms in the house. You live in one of them plus the casita. Casita on the very low end, very conservative, 1,200 bucks. All in, that's 7,250. What was your monthly expenses? 5,250. You live in it, you're saving 1,000 bucks because that's your rent that you're paying yourself because you're living there. Year 2 net cash flow, 1,950 bucks. You want to make 2,000 bucks of cash flow? I just walked you through in today's market, which I think interest rates definitely have lowered since then. So there you go, guys. It is possible in today's market.
I love it. And I love you broke it down to like the first step is you got to go get a team, find a mortgage professional who, by the way, find a mortgage professional who owns a rental property and is in the investor
100%.
game, because they know people who are in the investment game. They know realtors who are in the investment game. They know people inside the local real estate investment associations. Go find your local RIA, go to their meetings. They're free. All the people that I know that speak at RIAs started like me and Jesse, broke, dumb, and unhappy. And we didn't know anything.
Yep.
And we decided to, pick a path. We learned a lot of lessons on that journey, and now we want to give back. So people go to these RIAs and they share their entire business plans. And guess what? If you catch them as they're walking out and say, I love what you said, Jesse, would you mind if I set up a phone call with you? Could I take you to lunch? Could you give me a little more information? 100% of the time, that person's going to give you their time because they want to give back. They want to see you have that same level of success. So surround yourself with those people, and then you got to go out and take a risk. Like you've got to go out and figure this out. But I love the model that you gave where you've got the bedrooms that you rent out to people that are the 5 people that you want to associate with, people that you can share and have synergy with. And then the casita is the nightly rental. That's a great framework. What do you think the age is? This is going to be my last question because I've got about 47 more, but we don't have time for them. So I want to ask you the last question here. What do you think the right age is to start looking to buy a house? And then let's move on to where people can follow up with you and learn more about your business and how they can learn more from you.
Yeah. Personally, I don't know if there's a right age. I would say sooner the better. If I was able to do this and not go to college, looking back, I would have done that. So I don't think there's a right age. I think it's a right mentality and mindset rather than age.
I totally agree with you. And I think that for me, when I'm thinking of the answer to that question, it's as soon as you can save up the money you need for that down payment. So you live with your parents, you figure it out, you live way below your means, you save that money. And then as soon as you have it, get a foothold in the real estate market. Because I can tell you, I still own a condo that I bought 26 years ago. I'm sorry, 24 years ago. And that property's gone from 85,000 to 350,000. The rent went from, we were renting that thing out for like $300 a month. Now we get $1,500 a month for that place. So you want to own properties for very long periods of time. And then when you sell, you want to move them up to bigger properties so that you can increase your cash flow. But those things happen over long periods of time. So you got to get in the market and get in the game and start owning assets as early as possible.
I love that. Like one of my coaches always said, I think he was talking about stocks, but I think it also correlates to homes, is like, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market.
Time in the market. That's exactly right. All right. Last words of wisdom. I'm going to let you have the closing thought and then tell us a little bit about where people can find you in Growth House, please.
For sure. My closing thought has to be our motto. And we talked about it a lot, but write this down, remember it, audit your circle. You become who you surround yourself with. And as far as how you can find me, excuse me, probably Instagram's the best. So at the Jesse Ray, TheJessesseray. And we host twice a year in-person masterminds. We have an online community that we're about to launch next month, all about helping people get their first, 1 to 3 properties. And then you can live in one of our houses if you're in Phoenix.
Right on, man. Well, I'm going to help you promote that, what your community you're launching next month. So make sure you share that with me when it's up and running. And team, I wrote down and circled at the top of my notes, audit your circle. I don't know that there's a more important lesson. That is a beautiful motto. Jesse, thank you so much for being here and sharing generously, man. You are a stud, and I hope you have a great rest of your trip and enjoy your time with your father in Costa Rica next.
Man, Josh, I appreciate it. And I want to, on the podcast right now, are you going to be on our podcast, the Growth House podcast?
I'm in. You let me know.
Let's
that
go.
would be my pleasure. Absolutely, to give back.
Let's do it.
All right. Right on, brother. Appreciate you.